Welcome back to another edition of the FODcast. We are back again to bring you cutting-edge insights into the future of digital commerce tech from the biggest leaders in the space right now. Every 2 weeks, we are continuing to bring you interviews with the people who are either dominating or innovating within the digital commerce sector. We're incredibly grateful for these people. They've given up their time to bring you their stories and provide us with insights that give us a glimpse into the future of digital commerce tech. We'll be bringing you people from every single arena, from digital commerce retailers, systems integrators, software vendors, right through to full service digital agencies. With so many great guests providing incredible insights into digital commerce already interviewed, we had our eyes open to a number of trends which are or will soon be making a dent within digital commerce tech. This week, I'm very excited to welcome to the 6th edition of the FODcast, Aroen Sharma from Elision NV. Elision NV is part of the Explore Group. It's one of Benelux's largest SAP partners, building high-end commerce trade channels, delivering the best possible solutions within the SAP customer experience landscape, including SAP Commerce, Marketing, and C4C. Now, Aroen, you currently hold the position of managing partner for Elision NV, so you're responsible for ensuring delivery of customer engagement and commerce projects with a focus on a transparent and collaborative strategy. That is my understanding. That's my attempt to give you an introduction. Hopefully I did you justice, but it would be really good to get your introduction about and a bit more information about yourself.
Sure, thanks, Tim. My name is Aroen Sharma. I am the managing partner of Elision. We are a Belgium-based company, initially founded in Belgium. And 4 years ago, we started a separate branch in Netherlands, which I am running. I am day-to-day responsible for the business we do, responsible for our customers, but also for delivering the projects to our customers, which is why they are working with us. So we are delivering SAP Commerce, Marketing, Sales, and Service implementations, which is part of the SAP Customer Experience portfolio. Most of our customers are based within the Benelux, but we also have customers that either are based abroad or have a global focus. We have customers in both B2B as B2C, retail, manufacturing are our biggest accounts. We have shifted our focus from initially being a fully focused e-commerce vendor or for party SI. Today we are more in the customer experience area. So we are also offering the projects on the other solutions of SAP, for example, Marketing Cloud, Sales and Service Cloud, and all related products within that portfolio like Qualtrics for experience management. So anything which SAP offers within customer experience, we are taking on as a challenge, but also as a trusted partner to our customers.
Interestingly, we're seeing that with other clients we work with in terms of expanding what they're delivering outside of just pure commerce. What was it that made you guys make that decision?
So for us, the reason to expand was that from our perspective, we need to make sure that our end customer needs to have the best customer experience. So the customer of our customer needs to have the best customer experience within their e-commerce experience. Now that e-commerce experience is powered more than just by the commerce engine. So that means, for example, if you want to have personalized promotions, if you want to be able to get in touch with the sales rep or get in touch with the customer service employee, you need to have these other bits in place as well to make that full customer experience, to make that available to the end customer. So if we would just offer the e-commerce bit, then we would miss out on the other parts, or at least we would force our customers to work with other partners on that area. So this is why we thought it would be a good idea to also invest from our side in the right people and the right resources, enablement, training of our team to make sure that we can indeed deliver the projects successfully.
Okay.
Do you feel as though offering the full SAP customer experience landscape has enabled you to actually pick up the full end-to-end of a project? Because talking to variety of different people in the space, there's a lot of pros and cons to being a full SAP house. And obviously one of the biggest ones is the end customer could have the concerns if they are fully SAP from front to back, then they're kind of locked in, right? Because it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money, and also a long time to move away.
Yeah, that is a concern. So sometimes you have that vendor lock-in discussion going on. So we advise our customers on choosing the best solution for their purpose. Now we have a lot of our customers are in the B2B space, where you were talking about the cost of SAP. Well, it is not that much different than other vendors are offering. It can be expensive, but then other vendors would also have an expensive price tag on it. So it's on pricing, I don't think there's much of a difference. It could be more strategic question of working with a single vendor. But in the end, I see that a lot of our customers take a look at the total cost of ownership over the long term, so 5 to 6, 7 years, taking that into consideration, and then also taking a look at the roadmap, the amount of innovation which SAP does on these platforms is pretty good, which is not just a thing of today, but it's also something which is a good thing for the longer term. So going with the vendor lock-in might seem scary, but on the other hand, it also gives a lot of trust. Working with a name such as SAP, they are delivering what they promise. So that's a good thing for the customers.
Definitely, and I understand as well from at least from what I've seen in the market, is that a lot of B2B businesses already are set up on SAP. So actually, the logical step is to have the commerce offering from SAP as well, where there is that trust already. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think if you look at the way SAP has evolved over the last decade, initially they were building all of their applications themselves because they thought, this is what we do. We are an IT software company. If we need the piece of software, we will build it. But later on, they also saw, well, there are a lot of competitors within the market which do a better job than us. So why not try to acquire them, which they did. So with the e-commerce part being Hybris, they did an acquisition of a very good piece of technology, which was also, rated by all of the analysts as top of the bill, the best product in the market. So yeah, you're making a choice for SAP, but in the end, it was built as a separate application. So it gives you still the flexibility of doing different things with it than just SAP.
And that leads on nicely, actually, to my next question. And obviously, it wasn't where you started your career, but you certainly seem to have spent the longest amount of time at Hybris, obviously either Hybris directly or after the acquisition from SAP. At that time, Hybris really came to prominence and went from being relatively unheard of to being the market leader within the commerce space. So just interested to understand kind of how you found it working there for a business that just grew exponentially over a few years.
Yeah, I have to say it was one of my best periods of my career. Being part of a smaller organization was always something I liked, and my first jobs and first positions were always at local small vendors of software, which I really liked because the lines were very direct with management, if there was a management layer in place at all. So, for example, when I was working at Hybris, I was sometimes working directly with the CEO. Who was, very friendly, and you could go to a bar with him and have lunch. There was no real hierarchical model, which made it very family-like, which I think in a job is something I really like. I always think that people make the difference within business, which also means that when I'm choosing people to work for us, I look at that same kind of culture, making sure that people like where they are, and that we can set up this family-like culture. So working at Hybris, initially there were, I think when I started, there were 120, 125 people working at Hybris in 2009. And indeed, it grew very rapidly. By the time that we were acquired, there were maybe 4,000 people working for Hybris. And that was in 2013. And then we got acquired by SAP. Working a long time and seeing this company grow also made me feel that, you know, I had a good relation with all of the people, with co-workers, teammates. I didn't want to leave them directly, so I kept on working for the e-commerce business unit within SAP for 4 more years. And at that time, SAP also, you know, put together this portfolio with customer engagement and commerce, it was called at that time, with CRM and commerce marketing in one part of the business, where I also had the opportunity to grow. So, you know, I stayed there for, in total, I think it was 8 years.
Yeah. So I guess your role naturally grew with the acquisition to move away from just commerce into the full customer experience suite, which has obviously been heavily pushed on by SAP in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if we look at the other interesting thing I found about your background as well, Aroen, was you've always had this blend of technical experience and business acumen. Your roles of, I mean, technical pre-sales, product management, etc. I didn't really see anything when I was looking back, which was really one or the other. Often companies really struggle to hire those types of professionals. And I think it's a bane for a lot of companies in trying to find somebody that can manage both to a high standard. So did you find that really allowed you to excel your career working for companies like Hybris quite quickly?
Yeah, I saw very early that somehow I was able to really understand, not really develop myself. I never was a developer or never did any development tasks myself, but I was really able to understand the way things were built, the way code was structured, things you could do with a piece of application, with a database, with services, with APIs. I somehow have a ability to understand how that works, but then also because a lot of people have that ability, but being able to translate that into to regular language, which customers understand, and then also making sure that my internal teams understand what was meant. That's something I think made the difference. I have seen some of my former colleagues doing the same thing, and I've also trained some of the people doing the same thing. So it's not something which is totally unique, but it takes some time to get hang of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unique, like you said, but it is something that is often a struggle to find. You generally find people are stronger in one aspect than the other, rather than have a strong blend of both.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that's interesting for me to understand is, and we'll touch on this later on, but there's a lot of interest around headless commerce and composable commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have stuck your stake in the ground with SAP, and that's the product set that you guys will work with. And there's often talk of it being monolithic and perhaps more cumbersome and harder to work with. But from your point of view, how do you overcome those concerns with clients when they perhaps raise some of these potential issues?
So the problem with innovation, well, let's start on the good side. The good thing is that we always have technical innovation, right? So there's always the next thing. But the problem with that is that if you don't choose for one of the things, you're constantly changing. So whatever is innovative today, there is something else tomorrow. So any change you make today to your landscape or to your technology will have impact for many years, especially if you're a large organization as SAP is. which they have to make a decision for something at some point. They can make changes to that, but they cannot make the changes every month. They can do it, maybe every 6 months or every year. And I'm not talking about small changes. I'm talking about large technical changes to your product offering. So once you have chosen for something, you will have to stick to it because customers are running on those systems. You will have to make sure that it's supported, and you also need to make sure that it's up and running all the time, because that's where customers are paying you for the software being up and running without any concerns. Now, the nice thing about innovation is that, now we have something else. I don't know, maybe a microservice-based application, headless, and then you can think about it, saying, hey, we have a monolith. Headless is better, but then you have to ask yourself the question, why is it better? What does it do better than the monolith does? Well, in this case, there were some things where also we, at that time, SAP, me at SAP, but also SAP itself, saw that, this headless thing is something which has a lot of benefits. So let's switch to the headless model. So currently we are doing implementations on SAP Commerce Cloud with headless front end with the Spartacus solution, which was brought by SAP. So they also innovate, but at a slightly lower pace than some of the other players in the market, which are typically the smaller vendors. Now, looking at things like microservices, it doesn't always make sense to have a complete e-commerce application built up by just microservices. You have to have some kind of orchestration layer in place that orchestrates all of these services to make it a cohesive and logical application to the customer experience. Because in the end of the day, and this is the way I look at it, is the end of the day, all of the decisions we make should be in the best interest of the end customer. So if we make it headless, then it should have a positive impact for the end customer. If we are using a monolith, and because that's better for the customer experience, then that's what we need to do, and not just making technical decisions based on what's innovative. It needs to have a benefit. And in our world at Elision, we always say it has to be the best thing for the customer. And of course, it should always be, on a cost level, it should always be in line with the with other solutions. But in the foundation should be the customer experience.
Yeah, and that's some of the feedback we've had from other guests on the podcast. Is although the headless tech is exciting and innovative, it really actually must fall back to what is the correct use of that technology, and therefore analyzing what the customer experience will be and what those businesses you're working with really need to get out of their implementation. So it's interesting to hear that that's the same kind of viewpoint from you guys. One of the things I read was a recent post from you, I think it was a few months back, on some of the main reasons to use SAP C4HANA on your CX strategy.
Yeah.
What is the normal response that you would get from clients when you're discussing the use of that part of the SAP product suite when they weren't necessarily looking at it or considering it?
And what kind of customer are you? Are you talking like just a general prospect which has no SAP yet?
Yeah, I didn't really think about whether or not they would be on SAP, but either or, I guess.
So in most cases, so most of our customers are actually SAP customers already. So they already have an SAP backend. There are a few, not a lot, of our customers that don't have anything of SAP, so totally greenfield for SAP. So both scenarios are possible. But I think that most of the customers choose for the full suite approach because that's where you get the most benefit from. So any IT project where you have multiple applications which have to talk together, the biggest risk of your project is that part, the integration part. The most work is done in the integration. Now, things like APIs and API management make it easier, but still you need a lot of specialism, lots of experts from all of the different applications that can tell you how the APIs work, integrate those. Now, if you choose SAP, if you already have the ERP solution from SAP, then the integration with SAP Commerce Cloud is fairly easy. It's standardized. It's an out-of-the-box integration package which you can use for both B2B and B2C. And then, if you have that in place, maybe you want to now, move over to Marketing Cloud. Again, the integration package is already there. You can integrate your backend system. You can integrate your e-commerce system very quickly. And that's the biggest benefit of the customer, is that not only do they get the application, which has all of the things they need, but the integration is also quick, low cost, and less risk. And I think, in the fast-moving world where we are living in, risk of delays is something. If you can mitigate that, then you should.
Okay. And how is Elision innovating within the digital commerce space at the moment?
So what we are looking at is, so you mentioned early on that we are just doing SAP. That's true on our core products. We are just offering SAP Commerce Cloud and the customer experience portfolio, marketing, sales service of SAP. But we are also looking at parts where SAP does not have the best solution. So, for example, if you're talking about a very complex configuration engine with 3D modeling, for some of our B2B customers, that's something which they would really like to have. So then we explore in the marketplace, what kind of solution providers are out there, and how could we integrate them with SAP Commerce. So we have some examples of these kind of vendors, and then we also try to integrate them in a very easy way. So if we can, we just want to do it based on services. So service, microservice-based integration is our preference. So this, on the one hand side, we were just talking about, this monolith of application, which is SAP Commerce. But then on the other hand, we try to be flexible with microservices to make sure that our customer can get the most innovative solutions quickly implemented on their Commerce Cloud.
Okay. So in terms of innovation, you guys are looking at elements of your clients' requirements that SAP won't be able to service, and whether or not there are other vendors that can fill those gaps. So that kind of leads me quite nicely into my next question, which is the trends, the things that are shaping digital commerce tech post-COVID. So obviously, everyone's buying habits have changed dramatically and probably permanently. And that will inevitably mean that the technology will change to adapt to the buyer, the consumer purchasing habits. So what's the big fundamental changes you've seen since COVID?
Well, I think that's a big question, because I think there's so much changed post-COVID, during COVID. So first of all, I think that what we saw was that a lot of companies, being retailers, being business-to-business manufacturing companies, which we were talking to for years. We were speaking to them saying, hey, you should move into the online space. And they would always say, well, that's not our business and that's not for us. And during COVID, these were the same customers that were calling us, asking us for, are you able to do a project for us within 2 to 3 weeks? Can you start? So that was the first thing which we immediately saw, that everybody wanted to do commerce. Everybody wanted to do digital marketing at the same time. And that was during the COVID period. Now, after, so where we are right now, if you're looking at the change in the marketplace, I think everybody now knows, that commerce is something which you need. Being it online, being it through desktop, mobile, wherever, you need to be able to offer your products, your services in a digital way. That's something which everybody should know by now. But then you have to ask yourself, what is then the differentiator for us to be in the market. If everything is digital, you can make a very nice website and then sell your products. Will customers buy from you simply because you have a very nice looking website or a very nice looking app on your smartphone? And the answer is probably not. I think that you will have to do a lot more than that. You have to make sure that your service level is very good. People need to be able to count on you. If you promise something, you need to make sure that that happens. And then the third thing, I think, is the physical world. I think that besides everything going to digital, which was something which we were thinking about of the last year, saying everything is going to be digital in the future. Now everybody was staying home for over a year. We all also know now that doing everything digital is not very nice. It's not something we like. We like to go to the pub from time to time, and we also like to do some shopping in high streets. Going to the retailers. But I do think that the focus has shifted of what are you going to do in a store, where previously going to a store was your main intention might have been 100% buying things. You go to a fashion store to buy new jeans. I think tomorrow it will be all about the experience. You will not, I think retailers of the future will not even have stock. They will just have a few of their nicest products displayed, and the rest will be done digitally. I think that's the future of commerce. Not doing everything physical, but also definitely not doing everything digital, but having a nice mix of both worlds.
Do you have, or do you know Argos?
Yeah.
So effectively, what the future might look like is the Argos model, but without picking up in store. Because you go there, the products are displayed, you have a catalog, you can hold things, choose things, and then you will go in, order, and it will be delivered same day to your house or next day, that kind of thing. And that's how you potentially perceive the future of those physical stores. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, for some products, it's very easy, right? So if you're talking about electronics, or if you're talking about fashion, it's easy. It's not a problem because, you can box everything up and you can give it to your typical delivery service, and it will be there same day, next day. That's easy. But it will also be for the not so common things you buy. Maybe building materials. In a B2B situation today, we have some customers that have a huge warehouses where you can either pick up your products or they will deliver it with huge trucks to your doorstep. That's something which, it might be different from a customer experience perspective. How am I going to buy 40 packs of cement and how will it then be delivered? Maybe today you will have to open up your desktop or your notebook or your smartphone and type it in, find the product, and then add to your basket, go to the checkout, and then pay for it, or maybe do it invoice. All of these steps which you have to do as a consumer or as a professional buyer, it's all there. And I'm envisioning a situation where this goes much more effortless. Just saying into the space, into your phone, into your smartwatch, saying, "Hey, I need 40 packs of cement delivered tomorrow at my place or at this address," and then magically it should be there. That's the world of hopefully tomorrow.
Well, that's voice commerce, isn't it? That's something that's been spoken about for some time now, and I know Alexa's kind of been spoken about a lot in the UK and how that's working. And I think it's was it Domino's Pizza, Tim, that you could order a pizza through your Alexa just by literally talking at it and saying, "Give me a Domino's," and obviously everything else would fall into place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And it's quite dangerous when you've got young kids as well, and they recognize how to order using voice commerce.
Yeah, I think there was this example of a kid that bought, I don't know, 2,000 ice creams, which were delivered at his doorstep. So that was great for him, but not so nice for his mom.
So the Amazon account's taken an absolute bash, hasn't it? 2,000 magnums or something. Just going back to what you said, Aroen, about obviously the B2B space in particular, and that is an area that's had to innovate a lot, because then a lot of those companies have had to go direct to the consumer now. Do you feel as though those businesses are now going to target the consumer more moving forwards, cutting out the middleman, i.e. the other business, and as such could that now form almost a completely new target audience for them post-COVID?
To be honest, I'm not sure, because I think for some things, the manufacturers are the perfect ones to target. They have the newest products. They most likely have them on stock because they build them. If they don't have them, probably no one will have them. But then they also are typically the most expensive ones, right? So if you go through any other retailers, you can probably get a nice bargain with a model of last year, for example, in electronics or in So I think that the volumes which these retailers do, the independent retailers, are a good business model for the manufacturers. I don't think they will cut them out. They will have a true focus on the probably the high end of their offering, and then it might make sense for them to do that directly. As a consumer, I always find it very strange if I'm looking for something at the manufacturer and I cannot see it or I cannot buy it. It really makes me feel strange that, I don't know, if I go to the Apple site and if I could not buy something there from Apple, that for me it would be very, it would be a very strange experience. So, I think that's something manufacturers have to do. Also from the consumer's perspective, it's expected that they do it, but it's also expected that they are not keeping all of the products in stock, and they might refer you to one of their dealers. So something which I've seen more and more coming into play there is marketplaces for both B2B and B2C, where manufacturers now can also say, well, let's set up our own marketplace to make sure that we keep the retailers connected to us. We keep the consumers happy by giving them a single a point of entry, but then making sure that they get their service or their product from the right independent retailer or service delivery organization.
Yeah, I guess it obviously depends on the industry as well, but you mentioned Apple, obviously Nike as well. I think if you look at the big powerhouses globally, both of them have a very good direct-to-consumer model, as well as via B2B as well. I'm the same. If I want a pair of trainers, I'll go straight to Nike. I don't look at somewhere else. So okay, all right.
A question for you on the tech changes. So, is there, in your view, a difference between where the Benelux region is in terms of its use of digital commerce tech and the UK? Is there a lag, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. So from my time at Hybris and SAP, being more at the software side of things, I always saw that in the UK, the pace of innovation was 1-2 steps ahead. Then being followed by Germany, Netherlands, Belgium. These were the territories I knew very well. France a little bit later, and the southern countries being a little bit later in innovation. But typically, we would see the UK being as one of the more innovative countries, together with the US. In the US there was always a lot of innovation done as well. But in looking at our side of the pond, it would be more UK first. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of, and this is something that's been discussed a couple of times already on the FODcast, but in terms of cryptocurrency and retailer adoption, of payment via crypto. Do you see that as likely? And also, do you think if it is likely, it will have a big impact?
Well, it's a difficult question. Personally, I think it should be there at some time, but yeah, I think how you call it, the price changes it's just too much for any consumer to be serious about buying something with a cryptocurrency. It doesn't make sense, because today, if you have your regular currency, if you have your pounds or your euros, today I'm paying, I don't know, €1.50 for a bread. Today that might be one, I don't know, coin, whatever coin you have, and tomorrow it might be 65. And as long as the prices are still going up and down all the time, there is no trust in using it for such a purpose. So today I don't see it happening. I think in the end, at some point in time, we will have cryptocurrency. We will have, that would be fully digital. There will no longer be a need to have physical money in place. So yeah, I think it's something of the far future, not the near future.
Okay, the use of cash has dropped off in the UK.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Certainly, I assume in the Benelux region as well. And so we're just exchanging digital currency anyway.
Yeah,
and it's potentially a next logical step. But I'm like you, and until it's has some kind of centralized control to stop the massive fluctuations in the value, it's going to be quite hard for big retailers to adopt it as a method of payment.
Yeah, it's a lot of risk as a consumer, but also of course, like you said, as a retailer. If you're buying and selling continuously, that's what in your currency is changing, then it's not worth much.
No, it could really be a problem for big.
Yeah.
You mentioned 3D modeling earlier when you were talking about different client needs, and two things that are interesting for me to ask for you in terms of the application within digital commerce tech is augmented reality and artificial intelligence. They've got some overlap, but obviously different things. Be good to get your take on how you see those fitting into retailers and adoption of these technologies in the future. Yeah,
so like you say, these are two separate things which you of course can combine. But looking at AI, artificial intelligence, I think this is something which is already there, right? We are already using artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities within the landscape of a lot of our customers to do things like personalized promotions, to make sure people get the right content at the right time. So this is already being done. The second part, I call it sorry, help me there again. It was artificial intelligence and
augmented reality.
Yes, augmented reality. So I think augmented reality is something which could really enhance the customer experience. Like I said before, I think it's all down to the customer experience. So what can we do with it to make that end customer experience better in e-commerce or in marketing? So I saw some of these videos lately where you saw a product on your screen, and then you take your smart device, your phone, and you can scan it, and then actually you can see the model of whatever you were looking at on your desk or on your on your floor, to get a better idea of what it would actually look like in sizes. People were always saying, I will never buy shoes in the store because I need to feel them, touch them, smell them before I buy them. So this could really enhance the customer experience, going away from these flat surfaces. Our notebook screens or our computer screens are all flat. Of course, you can do things with 3D in a view, but it's not the same as just being able to walk around it, which is something with augmented reality, which would be very cool. Also, the possibility to see a product in the place where you will actually need it, that's something which I think has a lot of value to it.
Okay, I certainly think there's a lot of use for augmented reality, enabling you to see how things might look on your wrist with a watch, for example, or the front door of your house. There's something that I've used. It's not great, but it gives you a rough idea. So I think there's a lot more scope for that technology to be used at the initial stages anyway, to get you bought into working with that business.
Absolutely. And I think, as the technology evolves, and, these things will get better as well. But I have to say, when I think it was 2010, I had the first app installed which was one of the early Hybris customers, where we could position furniture within your own living room. At that time, it was completely new and innovative, something which was never seen before. It's exactly that, augmented reality with commerce. You could take a sofa, put it in your living room, spin it around, see if it would fit, and then buy it. That was basically what they were offering, and it was something great. And I think it was a very basic application at that time, and now it's the time to make it more integrated with the rest of our day-to-day life. I think in some years we won't need to have all of these screens. Today everything you need to do digital, you need screen, and then of course we have voice. But if you want to do augmented reality, you need to have some kind of different solutions. I don't know how to do it yet. If I knew that, then we would have some different conversations. But I think that's the future.
Yes. So interesting you say about the furniture app, and I think IKEA have been a company that have led the way, particularly in the UK with that. They've been using virtual reality now for 5 or 6 years with some of their stuff. In my opinion, it's very industry focused. For example, like you mentioned, doors, furniture. Do you see a point where it will just be the norm to manage customer expectations across all industries in the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the customer is king. Customer will demand this kind of service. They will demand to have these kind of services, because if your favorite brand is not offering that kind of service, you will go to the next favorite one, which is doing it. And looking at the younger people, the next generation, they are very much into all of these nice innovative things. They adapt very quickly to it. I always thought that I was quickly adapting, but if I look at my own kids, the pace where they are enabling themselves to use new technology, it's amazing. And I think they will love it so much, they will simply skip the brands or the manufacturers or the vendors that are not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, kids adopt the technology so fast, don't they? And over the course of a couple of weeks, something comes in and out so quickly. So,
yep.
Look, I have to ask. You mentioned you think we will get to a point where there won't be multiple screens. We've seen Google Glasses a couple of years ago now. They seem to have kind of just disappeared. We've also heard talk of an implant of some sort that might go in your skin and give you some kind of experience related to your hands. But that sounds pretty far-fetched to me, to be honest, but you never know what's around the corner. How do you see things potentially planning out?
Well, like I said, if I could be so innovative, I would probably do something else. But the way I would, in my dream house, if I would think about it, if I could put together my own house in the most innovative way, I would say, no screens. That would be my dream, not to have screens everywhere, because that's something which really annoys me all of the time. That everything you need to do, you have these big screens, and the bigger the better, of course. But for some things, it could be very simple, like the way the light industry has changed, where in the past, you simply had this turn-in light bulb, and you could switch it on and off. And nowadays, these are smart lights. You can turn them off with your phone or by voice. You can change colors. I would say to one of these light vendors, make sure to put in a little projector or something, which projects a 3D website or a 3D store. Something where you could just project whatever you want to see. It could be how to to turn on your AC in house by projection. It could be you're trying to buy dinner. Just project it in the space. I think that would be the best solution. So if anybody's out there listening, you're free to use my idea.
Royalties to Aroen Sharma. I've got some crazy vision right now of just like you're walking in the house and you're like, light on, show me the menu for the nearest curry house, and it's like bang, and you got the different dishes, and it's just like everything else, and then it's like right, and I want X and Y, and you can just order everything just by like moving around.
You just walk through your house and just have frictionless experience. And today you have to sit down, take your mobile device, type in what you want. No, that's not in 2025. I hope.
No, well, let's see. I guess
I like the sound of your future, Aroen. I do.
We've taken a trip to Aroen's house in a couple of years.
You're always welcome. If you can come over here, then you're welcome.
So I've actually got visions of Minority Report. Have you seen the film Minority Report?
Yeah. Where you just have these screens like
physically moving things about. That would be good. I like that.
Yeah.
We've got to the point in the show where we have 3 questions that we like to ask everyone, and we think these questions at the moment are going to help give everyone that's listening the best insight into what the future holds for digital commerce tech. So the first question that I have for you, and it's obviously difficult because I'm asking you for one particular thing, but what is the single biggest challenge you think retailers are facing right now or in the very near future?
So I think the biggest fear or change they will have to make is to make sure that their both their physical and digital stores are up for what the customer is expecting them to be up for. So a lot of situations I've heard retailers saying, we need to have the experience which we have in store online. And then they also say, well, whatever we have online, we also want to do in store. But I think customers don't think that way. They have purposes. They have, for each of the things they want to do, they have a different way of doing it. And I think it's for each retailer, it's their responsibility to figure out what's best for their customer. It's probably different per industry. It's different per product type. It's different per location. If you're in a top-rated mall, which we have a couple of here in Netherlands now, some of the larger malls where all of the flagship stores are together. This should be a different experience than when I go to one of the outlet shopping centers, because customers, when you go to the outlet, they just want to buy bulk, cheap. If they want to go to the flagship store, they're expecting better service. They're expecting maybe samples, some kind of benefit. They expect a nice ambience. So I think for retailers, it's very much their challenge to make sure that customer will expect, they will get what they're expecting in both digital and physical.
Well, that leads on, I think, quite nicely then to our second question, James. I think
it certainly does, yes. And I guess, do you see a place for the high street in the next couple of years? And if so, how will it look?
Yeah, absolutely. I do see a place. Like I said, I think COVID made us all very much aware why we have these kind of streets where all of these nice shops are together, where you can walk around with friends, with family, just to have a day out. Walk, get inspired, see other things which you didn't see before. Have a nice day. I think that's the benefit of having a high street in place, and that I think that will be the future, and that will stay. I don't think that all people want to do everything through digital, just buying things. It's not the same experience. It's not what e-commerce was built for, and that's what it will do in the future. That does not mean that you cannot get inspired online, right? You can get inspired online, but I just think that the physical experience is still very, very important.
And how do you feel like that might look? It's clearly going to change quite a lot to the high street that we're used to. You've already seen an increase in shops with coffee shops in there to attract passing trade, companies merging together to offer more than one service. Do you see that continuing, or do you see that evolving further?
I see that continuing, definitely. If I look at for example, these big malls where you have dining possibilities, you have pubs in there, clubs, cinemas, everything at in the same, either in the same building or at least in the same area, which makes it interesting to be there at any time, not just during shopping hours, but also in the evening. It should be a place where people, which is typically not too far away from them. It should be like, I don't know, 15, 30 minutes distance. It's easy to get through, do the things you would like to do, and then get back home.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that you're not going to get online. It's that experience of doing all of those different things, like you mentioned, whether it be shopping, having a coffee, going to the cinema, going bowling, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think consumers understand that going to the cinema, watching a very big screen, you can have a very big TV at home or a projector, and you can also make your own popcorn. You can get your own drink, but it doesn't taste the same. It doesn't experience the same. The sound is different. The ambience is different. There are a lot of differences in just going to a cinema with a friend or a family member instead of just sitting at home.
Very true. Very true.
Absolutely, 100%. Although you save a small fortune if you get your own drink and popcorn.
That's true. That's true.
In terms of disruptive tech, it's a big, broad question, I know. But from your point of view, what do you think would be the single most disruptive piece of tech coming in the next 12 months?
Yeah, I thought about that question. I saw it in the list, but I didn't really get a good answer on that one. The reason for that is because I think that if it's disruptive, is something which we don't expect. That's the nature of being disruptive. So if it would be in the next 12 months, that it would not be something I could predict. So it's probably something which is already out there, but it's being tested on a very small scale. Maybe some people are working with it already, but it hasn't become to the attention of myself. So I find it very difficult to answer that one.
Okay, yeah, and we
I would like to see those projectors though.
Yeah. That's it. Maybe that is it. Preempted the most disruptive tech coming our way, but that's not unusual in terms of people's response to that question. Is quite a broad question. Being disruptive, it tends to be something new, and therefore not necessarily something that we're fully aware of or recognize right now.
So I've had a lot of talks also with companies that are asking me, what are the trends for this year, what's coming up in 2021 or 2022, well, and then we are always talking about the same things, about AI. We are talking about machine learning, how to use a voice for commerce, all these things. It's for me, it's no longer innovative because we have already been talking about this for years. So I'm actually waiting for the next innovation, for the next disruptive innovation. So hopefully we can also make some steps again.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Aroen, for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we had some great insights from you into how the future of the digital commerce tech world is shaping up. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time as well.
Well, that is another episode of the podcast wrapped up, done and dusted. Thank you to everyone who has been listening, and I hope we provide you some useful insights into the future of digital commerce. And we shall see you again next time.